All right, we are live. Welcome back, everybody.
We are in the
Welcome.
machine. Welcome back, everybody. We are doing another weekly SEO jam. As you can see, Lane's setup is cooler than the rest of us now that it's not frozen. He's on that healing journey. For those of you guys who don't know, he had a ski accident and is recovering from his ankle, his foot, and all that kind of good stuff. So Lane Train, you had something interesting kind of to share off air, and I kind of wanted to preface this week by saying I used to be one of those dudes who laughed at all the brand folks. Like anybody time somebody said branding and brand, I was like, that to me just sounded like stupid waste of money advertising.
Yeah.
And the longer I've done this, and there certainly is that embedded in some brands where they like to do a Super Bowl commercial where you can't even tell what the product is $8 million later. There's certainly that kind of stuff. But nothing matters more in local than brand and domain authority and topical authority and all those things kind of linked under brand. And there is absolutely a time and place for it. And just a little anecdote on this. I have a client who biggest attorneys and two brothers in Jacksonville. And they told me it doesn't matter what ad they run, it crushes it. And I looked at all their TV ads and they were really, really good. And they said, we run the same ads 100 miles up the coast and nobody calls from the exact same ads. And they said, it's very simple. They said in Jacksonville, we have 30 years of branding. So everybody knows who we are. We've repeated our name. We're an authority. Same exact ads 100 miles up the coast. Nobody's heard of us. Nobody cares. Now we need to keep running to get that repetition, and it's going to take some time. So anyways, I wonder if you could kind of start by just bridging the gap. Let's start at the super basics, Lane Train. Like, what is a brand and why should we care?
So a brand is
in terms
a name.
Of what matters for SEO.
Yeah. So a brand is the official name for the entity. So inside the algorithm, Google is recognizing entities, person, place, thing, or concept. And so every company out there is an entity. If they have a GBP listing, you automatically have an entity ID within Google's system. And so the brand name is equivalent to the company name and or the entity name, so they're kind of all synonymous. But Google wants to recognize the entity name. You've probably heard of NAP before. If you're in the SEO industry, that stands for name, address, phone number. And so Google is trying to recognize distinct entity names or brand names. And so really the first step in SEO is making sure that the entity ranks for its brand keywords. So if we're talking about Joe the Plumber, if that's the brand name, that's the company name, Joe the Plumber LLC, so to speak, then you need to be ranking for Joe the Plumber. Like if you don't rank for Joe the Plumber, your brand names, it's highly unlikely, if almost impossible, to rank for other keywords, right? If Google doesn't even recognize your entity and your brand name, then you're starting off on the wrong foot completely. And so that's really step one in ranking, is making sure that you have really good brand or entity authority. And that means ranking for the brand level keywords. So to your point about the attorney who used to run the ads, up the coast and, in their home city, the algorithm is almost exactly like that. Like if the algorithm doesn't recognize the brand, you're done. Like you've already lost the game in SEO. And I think this is really, really overlooked. Like, most SEOs agencies are like, okay, this company wants to rank for, plumbing repair and water softener installation and water heater repair, whatever. And they completely just forget oh, we need to be ranking for the brand keywords. We need to build brand authority. And you can visualize this anytime you want by just searching for a brand name and then looking at what does Google return on page one. If it's not returning, my goal in SEO is to own all of page one results for the brand name. That's when you've got really good, strong brand cohesiveness and authority within the algorithm. When it's returning your website, your GBP listing, your Twitter account, your Facebook page, any other assets, a YouTube video or a YouTube channel, all on page one for the brand name, all on top. And that you have real issues if you do a search for your brand name and you don't even come up. Like other competitors come up, or maybe you come up once, but then there's other competitors filling out page one. Then you have really got to focus on the brand level keywords. And I would say first, before you start focusing on ranking for, the money keywords, so to speak.
Yeah. I was just thinking about like this to your point, is that what Google's actually doing is very highly logical, at least in my mind, because it's just mirroring what real people want. Like, let's say I'm in a new city and I got a hankering for some cookies. And so I go to Google and I search for cookies. And there's a place down the street that's been at that location that is known for making the best cookies and has been there for over 30 years. And they make awesome cookies, and they have reviews, and they have pages and pages of people saying awesome stuff. And let's just call it ABC Cookies for the sake of simplicity. And 5 minutes up the road is a place that just opened and kind of makes cookies. Like, which one do you think a real human would want to go to? Like, if we ignore search and rankings and all the things that we're trying to do technically as SEO, but just which one would a real human want to take a chance on? Well, almost always they want to go to the one that's known making the cookies. That, I actually, it's funny too, because I can actually remember, fun little story. I was in Oahu, Hawaii, and I Googled just like restaurants near me, and there was like an udon ramen noodle kind of place, and they had over 6,000 Google reviews at the time. Now, I'm a guy who knows how to get reviews, and so are you, Lane, obviously. So I know how easily that can be manipulated and so forth. And still, I was like, man, 6,000 reviews. I got to check this place out. Like, if it's as good as everybody says. And they had a line when I got there, 45 minutes out the door, which makes you question your sanity. I'm like, do I really want to wait 45 minutes for some ramen? But now you're like, okay, I'm in this, and I'm really going to do this. And it turned out to be probably the best ramen I've had in a long time. So point being, like, really, like, if you guys think about this, like, Google is trying to mirror what real humans are doing. They don't want to just take a gamble on anybody. And we've kind of talked about some of these other details, but, a lot of companies, they have basically a website that's a glorified business card, and they have no real content, and they haven't claimed their social profiles, and they don't have very many reviews, and they have little to no online presence. And then they show up to somebody as an SEO and say, like, I want to rank 10 minutes later. And because they have so little brand online, like, that's a 12-month journey minimum just to get there. As where, like, sometimes I've had it the flip side too, where, like, I have a client where they literally have everything. And it's almost like, I can't believe you're not already ranking. Right. And it was easy. Like, I think, over the years, I've had some plastic surgeons, for example. Like, I have one guy. He was on a reality TV show called Dr. 90210. He was kind of like a famous doctor, and he had all these news articles and stuff published about him, and all of it was incoming brand, but he hadn't, like, really optimized his site and his listing and things like that. And that was a super easy one to rank because, to your point, like, he already had all the brand pieces. It really just needed sort of organized and optimized and things like that. And I don't think this is talked about enough because everybody wants quick, fast rankings. Nobody wants to put in the work to actually build a brand where you sustain it and deserve those rankings. I don't know if you have any thoughts you want to add to that.
No, I mean, not really. But it's just kind of reiterating, don't overlook this. And, like, when I'm doing an audit, let's just say I'm, an agency, and I'm looking at, 3 or 4 different prospects. The first thing I'm going to do, when I'm looking at an audit of their online web presence, is I'm doing brand name searches first. I'm not, like, doing plumber near me. I'm going to do Joe the plumber. What is showing up there? I think, oftentimes you'll be surprised at how little companies really rank for their own brand keywords, or maybe they only have the website show up, and then competitors are showing up on their brand. And you can step up to another level here and go, all right, well, what happens when you do that search and the company name is, like, identical to 3 or 4 other companies out there that have the same name? They're just maybe in a different state or, whatever. And that's a real issue. Like, that's the cause. That's a time to pause and go, should we change our brand, our company name to something unique? So, if you go up a level here and forget about SEO for a second and just go, do we actually have a unique brand name that the algorithm can actually recognize quickly as unique and distinct from all others? And that's really the game. So, if you're an agency and you come across prospects, or, you have clients and they have a highly similar company name to many other one or many others, there should be a pause there and go, should we rebrand to something distinct and unique that the algorithm and the consumer can recognize very uniquely and very quickly as distinct from all others, right? And so there's times where, in fact, we've got a case right now, we're doing is on the white label side though, but it's a cosmetic plastic surgery center. And when the agency brought the client to us, there were at least three, I think there were four different company names out there for this one company, this one, medical practice, a cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery, practice. They had two different websites, three or four different alternative names that were out there, that were being used, and their SEO was a disaster. No wonder. Well, they had two different websites. They had two different GBP listings. They had four different company names, brand names out there for their company or medical practice. And I think they had changed locations once too. So there was just all this confusion, about who is this? What is this practice? Is it, who are they, are they at this address? Are they at that address? What is it, this name? And so you have to eliminate confusion. If, as in part of your SEO strategy, it has to be to eliminate any confusion that may exist. And so I always look at company name confusion. Is it unique? Is it distinct? Are they ranking for it? Are they not? And then also, make sure that you don't have address confusion, because if the company has ever changed addresses, changed locations, oftentimes they have no idea what to do when that happens. So they change their locations. They may update their Google listing, and then they don't update anything else. This is another case study that happened this last week. An agency came to me and said, like, why is this company not ranking? Can you give me any insight? And I looked, and their Google listing was at, let's say address B, but they had address A everywhere else throughout their old location. And so their GBP listing just wasn't moving in the rankings. And I found like really, really bad, or, stark issues with address inconsistencies. Their new location was never really updated across the whole listing ecosystem. And therefore the algorithm was just confused. Who is this company and where are they? Right. And so these are the issues that you have to address in your SEO strategy, kind of as, it's like, that's like the first month, are we ranking for brand keywords? Do we have NAP, or name, address, phone number consistency? Or is the algorithm really confused because of all the inconsistencies that are out there, or because there's three other companies with almost the same exact brand name, right? If you're in that situation, or you find a company of one of your clients or prospects in that situation, I highly recommend change the brand name, change the company name. It's a little bit painful, but if you got three other companies out there with the same or very similar name, you're going to be fighting uphill all the way, and the algorithm may never really clear out all that confusion.
That I was watching Guy Fieri, his diners, drive-ins, and dives, and there was a restaurant with a weird name, and it was missing a vowel. I don't remember what the word is, but imagine like the word change with no A. It just said CHNGE, and they asked him, "Why did you do that?" And he said, "Well, the domain was taken, and there was already that name online, so I made the vowel non-existent." I was like, "That's a perfect answer, really, right?" Like I picked the name so I could just get the domain I wanted, and so nobody else would have it. Lane, I wonder if we could talk just a little bit here in closing. Let's say you got a brand, it's unique, and all the boxes are checked. How does one actually go about building a brand online? I think this is like, and to me, this is really simple, but a lot of internet marketers are not bred to really understand brand. Because to me, brand comes up more than anything is the repetition of an idea over time. And we're in a kind of an industry where everybody's looking for the quickest, fastest, most shortcutty thing. And to me, like, I mentioned that cookie place. Well, if they've been serving cookies for 30 years and they've been talking about cookies and they were featured on a show talking about cookies and they got cookie delivery and they got a big sign outside that says we do cookies and they got 87 different bloggers who reviewed their cookies. That's how a brand is established. I don't think there's any single shortcut that one can take other than to consistently publish content about one thing in one direction over time, and doing so in repetition. And personally, I feel like this is going to become even more important because I don't have a crystal ball for the future, but I was talking to our mastermind folks about this and I was like, man, if I had to bet whether our online space is going to get noisier or less noisy with the advent of artificial intelligence, I would bet everything I own on noisier, everything I own. And
Sure.
I wouldn't like all the chips on black and no fear of losing it all. And so what I feel like the way to combat that and how does one stand out from the noise is it's going to take multi-touch to get somebody's attention where, in the 1900s, you may be able to say we sell cookies. Now you might have to have 50 videos about cookies aimed at the same person for them to really understand this is go-to cookie place. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on both the real worldy version of we're building a brand, but also the online version of it. Like, how do we feed all that to Google so Google also agrees that we're a topical authority on this?
Sure. I mean, the first and biggest point of that strategy is to have a unique brand name. Have it, unique spelling, unique brand name, its own domain. Like, make your company or the company name unique, and that's a big issue for a lot of people because a lot of these business owners, have no clue about branding, and so they just opened up shop and threw up a name that sounded good to them, and they had no idea that there was 4 other people in their state with the same exact company name or very close. So I'll repeat that. That's the most important. That's the easiest way to create brand authority is to have brand uniqueness. Okay, if you don't have brand uniqueness, you're fighting up an uphill battle all the way. And then the easiest way to really start building brand recognition within the algorithm is going to be, I think, using press releases. That's, you get a press, you can put a press release and then put your company name, brand name in the title, and get that syndicated out to hundreds of news sites. The algorithm's going to see that. If you do that repeatedly 3 or 4 or 5 times, you're going to have a really good a bit of momentum in terms of building the brand authority and building the brand recognition within the algorithm. So press releases is probably my number one way to create brand unique or brand recognition and brand authority, with brand uniqueness being kind of the prerequisite to that. And sometimes it's just not an option, for one reason or another. And if you got to just go with a very ununique or a similar brand name, then so be it. But if there's any wiggle room to change the brand name when there's those issues, do it because it's well worth it.
Yeah. I would also add that I find the people who have the biggest brands in general, regardless of which industry, they are all content producers and produce massive amounts of content over time. So if you think like, I think a brand like Doritos, how many fucking Doritos commercials have you seen in your life? Like probably a lot, right? Like there's a reason why Doritos is so popular. Like anytime you watch a football game, you're probably going to see an ad for them. And what they're aiming for is so that when you walk into a store, and I think, there is no real like 100% shortcut, as you pointed out, but like press releases are probably the ultimate like content shortcut. But I noticed this many years ago is that the people who are the top in various industries, they are all content producers and they do it consistently over time for a long period of time. Like if you guys look, for those of you guys who are in offline niches, you look at the big industry associations, click on their websites just out of curiosity and watch how much shit they put out just around that one topic. So you'll see many of them, they'll have a magazine that they publish every month that has, 40, 50 different articles in it every month. And then on top of it, they'll have like a blog that has something like a couple of times a day, usually even. They'll have a YouTube channel. They may even have like a LinkedIn community. They might publish regular webinars. They have real in-person events where they publish and share content. And so I think this is one of those things that like everybody's like kind of looking for a shortcut in this. And to me, the real shortcut is just consistency over time in one direction. Like building real authority. It sounds kind of boring, but usually like I find like success in the long term is more boring fundamentals continuously executed than it is the exciting shortcuts and hacks. Now, having said that, there certainly are shortcuts and hacks, as you mentioned. Press releases will get you there a lot faster than, say, a blog post nobody's heard of. But having said that, if you're thinking like, I'm going to publish a blog post and I'm going to rank #1 for that keyword in 5 minutes, and I'm just going to do it one time and see, like, I would just tell you don't bother, because if your attack plan isn't really to as Lane pointed out, create a brand and fucking own that shit on every level, where it's like, I think of like, we've had Seth Price on the show. I remember actually talking to him about his law firm, and he said at first he aimed for owning all his brand search. So their law firm's name is Price Benowitz. They're a big law firm in Washington, D.C. And so he wanted to own all that. And then eventually he got into, I wanted to own the search for like personal injury lawyer near me. And he eventually started ranking his own website in his directories. But none of that, by the way, happened in 5 minutes. That happened with, the things we're talking about consistently applied over years and years. So I don't know, I'm rambling a little bit, but just because I feel like internet marketers, we're a special crowd, because plumbers don't have this issue. Like, a plumber, if he starts a plumbing business, he's probably still going to be unclogging toilets 30 years later. In our world, you and I have talked about this ad nauseum, especially like off air, but there's people who like, week 1, I'm a TikTok agency. Week 2, I'm a Go High Level SaaS. Week 3, I'm an AI automation expert. Week 4, I'm something else. And in doing so, you never get to establish a brand where people know you as the go-to for anything, really.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's a great, if you really want to go deep on kind of that principle, there's a really good book called The One Thing. And it's probably the one thing that all of us marketers really struggle with, is focusing on one thing. But this is a really big topic when it comes to the world of SEO. And obviously, the more the brand becomes known in a given community or geographic area, like to your very first point, the more everything will work better when the brand is recognized and the brand has a good reputation. So,
hey, amen to that, dude. So we talk just before we go about SEO Academy and anything else that Quantum Agency or anything else that we should mention.
SEO Success Academy, you can go to SEOsuccessacademy.com to join if you'd like. It's $17 a month still right now. I am going to start raising the price as I fill, the community out with more and more resources and knowledge-based articles and things like that. But it's a shortcut to learn SEO, if there is such a thing, that cuts out the noise. And I'm actually doing a live 8-week the process of SEO course right now. Tomorrow is week 2. All of our SEO Success Academy members get to attend the live sessions for free. After the end of the 8 weeks, I'm going to package up the entire course, and then it'll be a paid-for course teaching people how to actually do SEO, not just theoretical, but, really diving in with the process of it. And it's going to be the exact process that I embark on, or that I've taught my company, my team members. It's the same exact process that we conduct SEO on at Quantum Agency in our white label business. So, if you want to get the course for free, join SEO Success Academy and get registered for the live sessions over the next 7 weeks.
Yeah. Can I just say on that, we talked about this collectively, but when we had Seth on, but between you, him, and I, like we've ranked thousands of websites, literally thousands. So I don't think there's anything that will teach you more than real world battle tested experience for actually having to rank websites. And, as we've kind of mentioned, part of the reason SEO is so noisy is everybody's trying to, sort of like push certain solutions on you. Like if a guy's got a software, he's going to tell you everything else but this software is the way to do it. And what it creates is like the SEO space has a lot of like opinionated shit from like people who don't actually rank websites. And I'll tell you, one of the easiest ways to cut through the noise is what Lane is saying, is like actually learn from people who rank websites for a living. It sounds really simple, but you'd be amazed. When I first started, I just assumed everybody knew more than me because I was beginning and I didn't know much. So if some guy got on a forum and said like, do this, don't do that, I took that as gospel, and often like would be afraid to try things in the algorithm because some guy told me not to. And then I would find out a year or two later when I actually tried something that was total bullshit. And that guy didn't like do it for a living. And it was just, he was just trying to sell something on the back end of that, as where, like Lane gets paid to rank websites is all I'm saying. So like, you're not going to get a better system than that.
Yeah, I think the other thing in the industry is that there's a lot of people who have advice about doing this or that, but it's because they behind the scenes or behind, everything is they're trying to sell their software or their tool or whatever. So, and I'm out of that game. I sold the SEO software, Signal Genesis, last year. So now I'm just I'm paying it forward and giving back, $17 a month. It's ridiculous. Like I'm giving away my SEO knowledge that I've acquired over the last 15 years at $17 a month. So it's just my way of I rather than making it free, I wanted some people to have some skin in the game and at least get a little return for the time that I put into creating this community and teaching people. So we'd love to have you join if learning SEO and cutting out the noise in the industry is something that you'd like to do.
Oh, and one more thing. Pay attention to Lane because he's having an event at his house and I'm going to be there. So if you guys want to hang out, he's going to have some upcoming posts about that.
Get to come and see the beautiful Rocky Mountains. I'm outside here on the deck for our meeting today, but yep, I'd love to have you guys here. What'd you say?
Cool. I said the most American thing ever is a flag.
Yeah, there you go. All right, brother. Well, good live session today. Hope everyone learned a few things about branding and how that plays into the game of SEO. And we are now doing this bi-weekly. So Frankie and I will be back here in 2 weeks, not next week. So every other week, we're now here on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, every other Tuesday.
Appreciate
Peace
you guys.
Out. Have a great day, everyone. See ya.